we're ready, and I'm so glad to be here on the purple stage. I even wore my purple top because this is one of the best times to be here, because I am Carla Hayden, I'm the Librarian of Congress, and I started out, one of the joys of being the Librarian of Congress, though, is that you get to be with authors and people that you have admired and have written books and done so many things. And this person that I'm sitting here with is the person we're all here to see, Miss Jacqueline Woodson. Talk about a superstar of books. She is it. And I'm just going to read, I know you know all of this, but I think it just bears repeating. That she is the 2014 National Book Award winner for her New York Times best-selling memoir, Brown Girl Dreaming, which was also a recipient of the Coretta Scott King Award, a Newbery Honor, the NAACP Image Award, and a Sibert Honor. All like the Olympics. The Olympics of young people's books. In 2015, she was named the Young People's Poet Laureate by the Poetry Foundation. Her recent book for adults, Another Brooklyn, was a National Book Award finalist. She has 24 award-winning books. She's a 4-time Newbery Honor. This is like champion, but that's why she has a medal, because just recently she was named the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature for the Library of Congress. So she is an Olympic winner. And so there are more awards, and I know you know all about that, but what is really wonderful is the fact that you have a new book that I shared a few minutes ago with Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
That's so great.
Who said that when she was growing up, she didn't have books that reflected her heritage, Puerto Rican. What about you?
I think the same thing. I grew up in the 70s in South Carolina and Brooklyn, and there were very few books that I could open up and see someone who looked like me or who had a family that reflected my family. And we talk a lot about what Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop talks about in terms of people needing mirrors and windows and sliding glass doors in their books. Mirror book is a book where you see a part of yourself in it, and there weren't a lot of mirror books in my childhood.
And I had that, and this was a long time ago, a little book, Bright April, and it was a little brown girl, and I loved to see, I thought that was me.
Is Bright April still in print?
It's going to be reprinted because I talk about it a lot. But that meant so much to me. I said, look, there's my family, or look, there's that. And even when it's complicated, it was good to see it.
I remember the books for me, the first one ever was Zealy by Virginia Hamilton, Stevie by John Steptoe, and Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor. Yes.
And so you've written, I mentioned one of the books for adults, but you really have concentrated on books for young people. Why did you say, you know, that's where I want to stay?
I love young people. I think y'all are going to change the world. I know you're already changing the world. I think young people are the people who are still having conversations, who are still thinking about things and still figuring out who they're becoming and what they're going to do. And I write to fill the gap. That was my childhood literature. So growing up and not having the books that reflected my experiences, I know for a long time there were a lot of books that didn't reflect a lot of experiences, and I really wanted to put those experiences into the world and legitimize them. But I just love, I remember a teacher telling me about Madeleine L'Engle saying, when you write remembering the child you were, because the essence of childhood doesn't change. You know, the technology changes, the fashion changes, it changes back. But who we all are as young people, what we want, that sense of belonging, that sense that there are other people in the world like us, that sense of, as Matt and Lauren talked about, love, feeling love, being loved, loving. all of that is the thing all of us at some point in our lives, or at all points in our lives, want. And it's what I write about and what I love writing about. And so, I mean, I write because I love writing, but I also write because I feel like I want to have these conversations through literature.
What about writing about feeling different? I know I was kind of nerdy and all kinds of other stuff, and I always felt a little odd.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I grew up in a single family. My mom was a single mom, and then my grandma came to live with us. But a lot of kids had moms and dads. And I'd go to school, and the teacher would be like, well, ask your mom and dad. And I'd be like, well, that's not me. She's not talking to me. And those small ways in which I felt different, invisible, unseen, I don't want anyone to ever have to feel that way, especially young people.
And books could help that.
Yeah, definitely.
Words
definitely.
And poetry. Now, what about the poetry? Because that's a different way with words.
Yes. When I was growing up, I was very afraid of poetry. I thought it was this kind of secret language that I wasn't meant to understand. And it wasn't until I discovered Nikki Giovanni. I remember my mom had an album of Nikki Giovanni's poetry, and I was like, what is that? And it was kind of this aha moment. And then Langston Hughes, Gwendolyn Brooks, and the poets that really began to speak to me because I understood what they were saying. And because of them, I was able to eventually understand, you know, Robert Frost, E.E. Cummings, and all the poets that I later got introduced to. But as a young person, I was just like, what is that? Why are the lines breaking like that? What is all this white space? Why didn't that sentence end with a period? Like all the questions of what is this thing called poetry? And then I figured it out.
And it started to flow from you.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's our first language, right? When babies are speaking, they speak in these incomplete sentences, and then you fill it in, but it's a musicality to it. It's such a beauty to those early words, and there's a lot of white space around it. A lot of you meeting the young person and understanding them and having a conversation through their few words.
Now, there are a lot of, and I know this because I've met a few, aspiring writers. How many of you love to write already? Wow, I knew that. I knew that. Poetry, nonfiction, fiction, stories. So you have aspiring writers. What do you advise them to do? They're already doing.
Yes. The way to write, the way to learn to write is by reading. I can't say that enough. And you don't have to read hard books. I think reading picture books teaches you a lot about writing.
How? I have to ask that.
Okay, because from the very first line, you start getting a picture. It's a very short story, right? When you think of my book, The Other Side, that summer, the fence that stretched to our town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it. White people lived on the other, and Mama said, don't climb over that fence when you play. She said it wasn't safe. So you get this whole picture. You get the beginning of a story, you get some of the middle of it, and boom, it's very few words, but it's giving you beginning, middle, end. It's giving you character, and you didn't just have to read 500 pages to learn that. So I say start with the picture books and really study them. Read the same books that you love again and again and again. If you're writing fantasy, you have to be reading fantasy. If you're writing poetry, you have to be reading poetry. If you're writing realistic fiction, you have to be reading realistic fiction. And writing is a muscle, so you have to use it every day, or else it goes soft, right? It atrophies, as we say. So try to write something every day, and try to read every day, and read like a writer. When I have a book called American Negro Poetry Anthology that I got from the library when I was probably about 12 years old, and I remember my mom taking me back to the library when she found it years later and making me pay for it out of my allowance. Out of my allowance. Okay. She was so mad. And in the book, there's a Langston Hughes poem, I Love My Friend, He Went Away From Me. the story ends same as it begins. I love my friend. And then right next to it in my little Jacqueline Woodson handwriting, I have, I love my friend, she's gone now. Like I had copied his poem and made it my own. And that's how you learn to start writing. You learn from the writers that came before you. You copy their styles. Eventually you find your own voice. So young writers, now is the time. Write, share your writing with people you trust. If you read something to someone and they say, I don't like it, don't ever share it with them again. Because that's not helpful. No, that's destructive criticism. That's not constructive. Constructive criticism.
I like that.
Yeah, it's someone, when I share my writing with my friends, the first thing I say to them is, just ask me, tell me only what you love about it. That's all I want to hear is everything you love about it. And then they tell me all these great things, and that makes me want to go back and write more. And then the next time I say, ask me 3 questions. Why did Jeremiah end up at that school? You know, why did Taswi and Evie's parents leave Colorado? Why did, why did Clover's mother say she can't go to the other side of that fence? Why did Maya's family move away? And then those questions help me fill out the story I'm writing.
That's really liberating, isn't it?
Yes.
That if someone is that negative when you first ask them to help you,
yeah, goodbye.
Let it go.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Yep.
I like that. You can't help. Well, now you mentioned earlier the other part of the advice is write something every day. Now, my first reaction is someone that doesn't like to exercise, and you said it's like exercise. Well, what if you don't feel good that day? Or what if you don't want to write? Or what if you're going on a trip?
Then read, because that's, if you're reading very slowly, if you're really studying what you're reading like a writer. You're reading as an engaged reader. And this is for teachers who are saying, finish that book in a day. It takes writers a long time to write those books. So let the students read them slowly, please. And read the same things again and again, like I said, because you're studying. When you get to the end of a page and you're crying over something the author wrote, go back and find out what words the author used to get you to that feeling. The author didn't say, oh, she was sad. The author really showed you how that person's sadness looked. And this really teaches you how to write, how to get to sadness, how to have emotion in your characters, how to have taglines, he said, she said. When people talk, it's not like, oh, I went to the store, he said. Like their arms are moving, right? They're doing stuff. And studying literature helps you do that. And again, you could study picture books. You could study middle grade books. You can study adult books. But just read them again and again and study them. So if you're not writing and because maybe you don't have something to write with or you're in a car, read. If reading in a car makes you nauseous.
That happens to people.
Yeah, if it makes you nauseated, an audio book is another way of getting to story. My son, I always talk about my son who's a huge Jason Reynolds fan. Yay. That boy always has a book in his ear, and he reads differently. And so audiobooks really help him get to comprehension. So there's all kinds of ways to get to books. Audiobooks, I don't know if you all know this, you can get them on your phone from your library.
Free.
Free 99. That's not free in slang talk, but free 99 is free. Use your libraries. I'm not saying this just because I'm the ambassador.
Or she's sitting next to.
I'm saying this because I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, and we didn't have this. We didn't have book festivals like this. And if we did, we wouldn't have been able to afford the books. But we lived at our library, and my mother always made sure our cards were current, and she always made sure we went to the library and took out books. And that was my access to books, and by extension, my access to becoming a writer.
Is that world that was open to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned reading picture books, and sometimes older kids and young people say, oh, picture book. No.
No.
Read them. It's not just...
Yeah, picture books are not just for little kids. Picture books are for anyone who wants a good story. If you feel like the pictures are too babyish, just read the words. Read the words as a poem. Deconstruct the poem. And it's a good way for teachers to teach about poetry, and again, to teach about the arc of a narrative in 32 pages. If you read differently, and words are hard to come by, look at the pictures. In a good picture book, you don't even have to read the words to know the story, because the pictures tell the story. And so the pictures should stand alone. I always, with young people, I'll take a book that they haven't seen yet, and I'll show the pictures and ask them, what do you think this story is trying to say? What is it about? And they'll have all these brilliant answers without having read the words, because they know they're learning how to read through the pictures.
You mentioned reading differently. Mm-hmm. Could you expand on that a little bit? Because I think there's more recognition now that there are many ways to read.
Yes.
And there are no right ways.
Yeah, there is.
To read differently.
Yeah. I'm trying to get rid of terms like reluctant reader, struggling reader. People read, and they read differently. Some people read books really quickly. Some people read books really slowly. I still read books really slowly. I've always read books really slowly. As a result, I have a lot of comprehension, but if the class would be finished the book long before I was finished. Both my kids, the same thing, read very slowly. And reading slowly is not the wrong way to read. Taking your time to figure out words and decode language, it might take some people longer than others, but that doesn't mean they're not as bright. It means they do this differently. I play basketball better than my sister. But that doesn't make me a better person. That makes her basketball not her sport. It's my sport, right? But my sister read really, really quickly. And I think as a kid, I was always like, well, what's wrong with me? Why? And for those of you who read Brown Girl Dreaming, you know this. My sister was always, they wanted to skip her. She was always getting these accolades as an academic. And here I was coming along, and I'm reading not up to grade level, quote unquote. I'm reading slowly. I'm daydreaming, and basically teachers was like, well, what's wrong with that one? But what it is the thing. Once a young person's brilliance gets recognized, and every young person has a brilliance. Their passion is that brilliance, and that brilliance is their passion recognized. So for me, my passion was writing, and I'm sure people were like, well, how is she going to be a writer when she's such a slow reader? And what they missed was, this is exactly how you become a writer.
Is reading slowly. Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to ask if you could share this. I mentioned that Justice Sotomayor wrote down the title to the book, and we're going to send her a copy, because when I explained to her...
I just presented her with a copy.
You presented her, yes, because she was so intrigued. Growing up, being Puerto Rican, and when I told her about this book and the way it celebrates when you begin to celebrate being different.
Excellent.
It took me a lot longer. And I wish I had a book like this.
Thank you. So I should read part of it?
I think you should.
Okay. I don't think we have time to read all of it, but I can definitely read.
The good parts.
The day you begin. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you. Maybe it will be your skin, your clothes, or the curl of your hair. There will be times when no one understands the way words curl from your mouth, the beautiful language of the country you left behind. My name is Rigoberto. We just moved here from Venezuela. And because they don't understand, the class will fill with laughter until the teacher quiets everyone. Rigoberto, from Venezuela. Your teacher says so softly and beautifully that your name and homeland sound like flowers blooming, the first bright notes of a song. There will be time when the words don't come, your own voice once huge, now smaller, when the teacher asks, what did you do last summer? Tell the class your story. We went to France, Chayla says. These shells came from a beach in Maine. A boy named Jonathan holds out a jar filled with tiny shells so fragile they look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands. My whole family went to India, Spain, South Carolina, each souvenir a small triumph of a journey. their travels going on and on. And as you stand at that room, in front of that room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and your days spent at home caring for your little sister, who made you laugh out loud and hugged you hard at nap time. You can only remember the books you kept on reading long after she had fallen to sleep. And in that room where no one else is quite like you, you'll look down at your own empty hands and wonder, what good is this? When other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere. There will be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love as you do. When even your own friend Nadja will wrinkle her nose and say, what's in there anyway? And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the world. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high, the run is too fast and far, the game isn't one you can really ever play. I don't want him on our team. You can watch. Maybe you can have a turn later. There will be times when the world feels like a place you're standing all the way outside of, and all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready, even though you don't yet know what you're ready for. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you until the day you begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent my whole summer with my little sister, you tell the class, your voice stronger than it was a minute ago, reading books and telling stories, and even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Your name is like my sister's, Rigoberto says. Her name is Angelina too. And all at once, in the room where no one else is quite like you, the world opens itself up a little wider to make some space for you. This is the day you begin to find the places inside your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travel, and your stories, where every new friend has something a little like you and something else so fabulously not quite like you at all.
She read the whole thing.
I read the whole thing.
Thank you. Because when you thought about this, what were you trying to do? Give that strength?
The book was inspired by a passage from Brown Girl Dreaming where I talk about my great-great-grandfather, who was the only black kid in his class in Ohio in the 1920s and 30s. And growing up, my mom always said to us, you know, there'll be times when you walk into a room where no one is like you, and deal with it. Like, what are you going to do? And don't be afraid of it. And I think, especially in our country at this moment in time, there's a lot of fear. And I think there are a lot of people walking into rooms, young and old, who don't have a sense that they belong in that space, or that they have a right to that space, or that everyone else in that space has something in common with each other, and they're outside of that. And so I started writing The Day You Begin to explore that and understand for myself first, because I always write books so I can have a better understanding and a sense of empowerment, that every time we walk into a room, we're a gift to that room, right? You know, and the room should be happy to have us in it. So The Day You Begin began from there.
Well, you are a gift to us.
Oh, so are you,
and
Dr.
we are
Hayes.
so glad that you walked up on this stage.
Thank you.
So thank you. She's going to be signing books.
Yeah.
She's going to be answering questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. So let's begin to be with you.
Thank you, Dr. Hayden. You're so brilliant.